I want to make it clear that I don't think this is a great build. I just think it's a good build with a nice mixture of using Bunny viably for a Colossus fight and being pretty difficult to pull off consistently. It's something different and that's always fun. Being familiar with the Death Stalker fight is important, as well as being able to make a lot of split-second decisions to maximise your damage output and minimise your damage taken. Death Stalker has around 140 million health and shield combined, so for this build to break even, it needs to do at least 36 million damage per fight. I find myself consistently hitting 50 to 70 million damage per fight in public groups, so we're more than carrying our own weight. I think anything at or above 12 million damage per minute is pretty good. After a lot of practice, I'm able to reliably get 16 per minute. I've played around with and refined this build over around 100 Death Stalker kills. In terms of average damage dealt over the course of the fight, I think this is the optimal setup, but if you know of any improvements or ideas, let me know. I will stress that this is quite a glass cannon setup that I'm going to show you to begin with. You have very little room for mistakes and deaths will happen. I just think that going down once in a while is worth the increased damage. Here's the setup you're seeing in the footage. The secondary roles are quite important here, especially MP recovery in combat and MP recovery modifier. Your MP management in the fight will become a priority, and we want to devote as many modules as possible to damage, so we skip out on resource management. I'd also recommend Toxin Resist, Max Shield on your processor. Anywhere that we can squeeze out more defense for free, we'll happily take it. For your Reactor, you'll want Electric and Singular, which you can farm for the next few days from Environment Contamination Zone, with Gold Colossus damage and anything secondary to that. I managed to get secondary skill power on top of this. Singular would be exactly the same, and I think they're best in slot. Skill cost would be a nice alternative, with range a distant third. Any mounting is fine as long as the weapon has 800 movement speed and not 750. Slap a maxed Brisk Walk into the weapon, it's free damage. Here are the modules. We're running high voltage because it's a nice damage upgrade and means we can get away with running just one skill range module. I cannot stress how important each of these modules feel. The build would be pretty awful to play if we took away any particular one of them. The way power increase works means that we get a nice DPS upgrade because it's calculated separately to stacked electric skill power. This doesn't make much sense to me, but alas, free damage. If you're struggling and dying quite a lot, I'd recommend switching out Singular Amplification. I actually think the perfect anti-venom might be the play here. If I were going to run this setup long term, I'd actually crunch the numbers, but the toxin resistance for now feels pretty good and not taking additional damage after from the bleed effect is awesome. My intuition tells me that this is the single best defensive module we could switch in, but if someone wants to number crunch and show me otherwise, I'm all ears. With the tiny bit of cooldown from Focus on Singular and 5.7% duration from Annihilator, I have infinite uptime on high voltage. Make sure you grab mid-air maneuvering too. I'm assuming you already know how Bunny's third ability procs more often in the hook animation, plus it works nicely with the Inversion passive we're taking for a small bit of quality of life. I run these passives. Recovery Maneuver is nice since it helps us recover shield if we do take a random hit. I'm open to the idea that Neural Focus augmentation for the MP benefit is better than the shield one. The same goes for the random MP boost every 60 seconds, but without selective recovery, this seems less useful. So let's talk about how to play this setup. You want to maximize airtime, but also your XYZ distance traveled. If you don't quite get this yet, go practice somewhere else. Death Stalker isn't the place. As soon as you spawn in, start sprinting and jumping to build your electricity. Disable your sprint boost before the fight starts to recover MP. We want our MP and electric to be full before the boss spawns in. Additionally, I recommend being mid-air from your grappling hook before you can actually hit him. This better synchronizes your hooking and allows you to pretty much always be in the air when his AoE is sent out. I'd also recommend disabling your sprint while you're in the air. I know, it's crazy micromanagement, but your MP is a massive resource limitation in this fight. You can use your ultimate in certain situations, though based on testing, its damage isn't crazy amazing compared to grappling hook with high voltage up. I'd only use your ultimate when you're low on MP, or the boss has been downed. Make sure you hop too, you'll still get high voltage procs. Expect to die while you get the hang of things. It's not that uncommon for me to still die, especially since I no longer run perfect anti-venom. Your damage output is pretty solid and Bonnie brings a nice utility to the fight, so she definitely has a place against Death Stalker. The biggest enemy is the boss's default attacks, since they seem to hit you quite often despite moving so fast. I tend to run perpendicular to him whenever he's focusing me. Feels like in the grappling hook animation, you have an increased likelihood of getting hit. You'll also want to get into the habit of jumping just before you hit the ground to assist with momentum change. We're trying to avoid the fall animation. It lasts quite a long time, and not only does it increase our risk of being hit, it also means that we're not dealing damage. The more we move, the more damage we do, so uptime is key. I've managed to hit 20 million damage per minute in a few fights now. Try it out and let me know what your best numbers are. Additionally, if you've got any ideas for improvements, leave a comment. If there are new ideas or things that I've missed, I'll have a pinned comment about them, so be sure to check that if this video is more than a few days old. Have fun with this build and remember to subscribe for more TFD content in future.